What's up, guys? Welcome to this Sexualization. Again, this is Nestor Adriansen, and today we're going to learn one of the most important security features in Power BI Desktop and the cloud service. We're going to learn about role level security. So, for those who are not familiar with this tool, role level security will help you implement restrictions on data row access. So, guys, this is a really hot topic and let's get started. For today's tutorial, we have 7 different points. We're going to go from role level security to solving a practical case. Okay, so guys, this is going to be fun and let's keep going. Role level security. This tool helps you implement restrictions on data row access. This is something that I just mentioned, right? You can also use this tool, Raw Level Security, with Power BI Desktop to restrict data access for given users. Okay, so this is really important to be aware of. Okay, the last point here, filters restrict data at the raw level, and you can define filters within roles. So we're going to see this information in more detail when we are solving the practical case. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. Define roles and rules in Power BI Desktop. What you guys are seeing here is, of course, a screenshot, and this is Power BI Desktop. And if you guys want to create roles, the first thing that we want to do is go to the modeling tab and then select the option Manage Roles. After you guys do that, there's a new window, Manage Roles, and then you need to hit the Create option right here. A new window pops up, and then you can start creating new roles here. Okay, for this particular case, we have just one role. It's called West, and then we are selecting here the claims table, and then we have a filter here, right? So the region should be just West. So after we do that, we approve this change, and then we save the change. So that's how we create roles, new roles, right? Okay, so this is how we define these roles, and now let's go to the next slide. So after we created a new role, we can validate that role as well, right? And we can do it within Power BI Desktop as well. So how do we do that? It's very similar. We go to the modeling tab, and then right here we need to select the option View As right here. So after we do that, a new window pops up, and right here we can select the role that we have just created. So for this particular case, we can select West and then hit OK, and then you can see the restrictions, right? The Power BI report that applies for that role. So if you guys are confused now, so let me tell you something. That's okay. So don't worry. We're going to look into these steps when we are solving the practical case as well. So just be still, okay? So now let's go to the next slide. So it's important to learn the limitations on cloud models as well, okay? When I say cloud models, I'm talking about the Power BI service, okay? So here we have 3 different points. This is just information I wanted to share with you guys, so in that way you can be aware of the limitations, right? 3 points here. The first one, if you previously defined roles and rules in the Power BI service, you must recreate them in Power BI Desktop. So the second point here, you can define raw level security only on the datasets created with Power BI Desktop. Okay. And finally, only import and direct query connections are supported. Live connections to analysis services are handled in the on-premises model. Okay. So this is just information that I wanted to share with you guys. If you want to learn more, so here's the link as well. So now let's jump into the next slide. So we can also experience some issues, right? So you will get an error message if you try to publish a previously published report from Power BI Desktop. So let's say that you created your report, right? And of course you use Power BI Desktop, but then after a few weeks, there is new information, this new data, and basically your report has been updated. But this update has happened in just Power BI Desktop. So now you can publish this report again, right? Or republish this report to Power BI service. But when you do this, you might get an error. And of course, there is a workaround. You can republish the Power BI desktop file from the Power BI service until this issue is resolved. And the steps are the following: get data and files. So now let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now it's time to manage security on your model. So how do we do this? So after you created the roles within Power BI desktop, all right, so we need to add members to those roles. But we cannot do this in Power BI desktop. We have to publish the reports to Power BI service. So what you guys can see here is basically the data set, right? We already published the report. And then in Power BI service, you go to the data sets and data flows option, like you guys are seeing right here. And then there is an option here, three vertical dots. Click right there, a new window pops up, and then you hit security, and then a new window also pops up right here. And then you have the option here to add members to each role. And for this particular case, we have three different roles here, and then we can add members to these roles, right? And as you can see right here, we don't have members yet because it says 0, 0, 0, 0 members. So the way that you can add members here is by adding their email addresses here. Okay, so we will see this during the exercise as well. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. All right, now it's time to put everything into practice, and we have here a practical case. Two questions. The first question is define a role for each region in the claims table. And the second question here is to add a member to each role in the Power BI service. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump into Power BI Desktop. Okay, so here we are in Power BI Desktop. So this is a visualization I have created. This is just for this tutorial. Okay, I want to share with you guys this report as well so you can practice. So, but before we start creating roles, let's take a quick look at our data. Okay, let's go to data here, and then let's check this data. So you might be familiar with this data. So there is something new here. I added the region and regional manager column. Okay, so we have three different regions here: southeast, southwest, and west. Okay, and also we have a manager for each region. We have Alison McFarland, Mark Johnson, and Michael Jordan as well. So please keep that in mind because this is going to help us understand the exercise. So let's go back to report here. And now let's start creating our roles. Let's go to the modeling tab. It's right here. And then hit the manage roles option. Okay. So now let's hit create. And let's start creating our first role. How about West here? And then we have three options here. We have three tables: claims, dates, and measures table. And of course, we need to select claims. And right here, you guys can see three dots here. Hit right there and then add filter. Remember that we have three different regions, and let's select region here. Now we need to select the region here, okay? So we care about the West region. So after we have this, we need to approve these changes, hit this option, verify DAX expression to make sure that everything is working fine, and then save. Boom. There it is, guys. So now let's create our second role. Create again, and let's call this role South East. And we can even copy this, Control C. And of course, we're gonna use this same table, right? Claims table. Let's get this option right here, add filter region. And for this particular case, we need to add here Southeast. Okay, and then let's verify this DAX expression. It's working fine. Save. Boom. There it is. We have created our second row. Now let's create the last row. Okay, create again. And then if you guys remember, this should be southwest. Okay, so we have three different regions, right? Claims table again, add filter, and then region here. And we can, I forgot to copy this, but I'm gonna type it again. This should be southwest. And let's approve these changes and then save it. Boom. There it is, my friends. Okay, so we have just created our three roles, and now let's test them, right? Let's see if this is working. All right, so how do we do this? Modeling again, and then view as right here. Okay, if you guys can see, we have three different regions here. We have west, southwest, and southeast. So let's say that we want to check just for west. Let's select west, and let's hit OK. And let's see what happens. It's loading. Boom. There it is, guys. So right here, this is visible just for the west region, right? And who's the manager? Michael Jordan. It's right there. Okay. So now let's stop viewing this and let's take a look at the other role here. Okay. View as again. How about southeast? Hit OK. And let's see what happens. Boom. There it is. This is the southeast. And then this is visible just for Alison McFarland, right? Because she's the regional manager for this area. All right, so that's how it works. Let's stop viewing this. And there it is. Quite straightforward, right? All right, so now let's go back to the presentation and see what else they are asking for, okay? All right, so the second question was add a member to each role in the Power BI service. All right, so now what we need to do is publish this report to Power BI service. Of course, you guys need to have Power BI service in order to do this because we cannot add members or users to a role within Power BI desktop. We need to add them in Power BI service. Okay, so let's hit the home tab here and then publish. Of course, we need to save these changes. And then we have two options here. So two workspaces. I'm going to select visualization and then select right there. And then it's publishing now. Okay. Success. Bingo. Got it. So now let's go to Power BI service. Okay. So if you guys have access to Power BI service, if you guys have an account in Power BI service, so you might see something like this. Okay. So in this case, I have created this workspace. So this is called visualization, but you guys can have your own workspaces, right? And I publish this Power BI report to this workspace. Okay, so here it is. This is the data set, right? We have content here, we have data set here. Okay, data set, and then let's hit these three vertical dots here. Security. Here it is. Okay, so here we have three different roles, and then we can add new members to these roles, right? We don't have any members now, and then we can start adding members. Let's say that we can, for the West area, if you guys remember, who's the manager for the West area? I believe it's Michael Jordan. So we can add right here Michael Jordan's email, right? Michael Jordan. There it is. michaeljordancompany.com. And of course, this is not a real email, but after you guys add an email here, this add option gets active. Okay. So basically, you hit this option right here, and then you will see that this role has one member. So the same thing we can do for Southwest, right? For Southwest, and of course we have a different manager here. So if you guys don't remember who the managers are, let's go back to Power BI Desktop and let's take a quick look. Alison McFarland, she's Southeast. She's the manager for the Southeast region, and then Mark for the Southwest region. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. Let's go back to Power BI Service. Okay, so here we have Southwest, and this should be Mark Johnson. And then after this is done, we need to hit the add option here. Boom, there it is. And then for Southeast, we can do the same. And then you can add the member right here. Okay, so that's how it works, guys. So if you want to test it, you can do that as well. For West, just to make sure that this is working properly. So if you guys can see right here, there are 3 dots. Let's hit that option. And then it says test as role. So let's do that. And remember, this is just for West. So it's loading. Keeps loading. Boom. There it is. As you guys can see, we created a role and then we use Power BI service to add a member. And for this particular case, for this particular region, so that member is Michael Jordan, right? So this means that Michael Jordan cannot see data from the other regions, right? So Michael Jordan sees only data for his region. So that's how it works, my friends. Let's stop this test right here. And let's stop this right here. Go back. And we can do the same thing for the other role as well, right? Let's say Southeast. We can do the same here. Test as role. It's loading. As you guys can see, here we have Alison McFarland, and she only sees data for her region, right? The Southeast. So that's why this powerful tool is really important, my friends. So let's go back to the normal view, and there you guys have it. So let's go back to our presentation. There you guys have it. We have just learned how to use role level security. As a summary, you can define roles and rules within Power BI Desktop, then publish this report to Power BI Service, and there you can add members or users to the roles, right? Remember also that role level security filters table rows. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give me a thumbs up, share with your friends, and of course don't forget to subscribe because you don't want to miss anything, right? And also please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. Thank you guys again, and see you in my next tutorial.